Welcome if you're new here. My name is Elizabeth and I'm a hobbyist artist. This is my first tutorial, if you want to call it that. I was asked by a few subscribers to do a little demo, so I figured that a loose subject would be a great way to start. For this doodle, you're going to need the paper of your choice. I am using copy paper that I cut to 5x7. You will also need white, blue, and purple oil pastels, as well as a tortillon. If you don't have one of those, then you can just use your finger. I'll end up using both in this video. So most people, when you ask them to draw a cloud, are going to give you a shape kind of like this, and I call these sponge clouds. There's nothing wrong with drawing sponge clouds, however, when we do this, it kind of itemizes the cloud, and it doesn't allow the viewer to feel like there's any depth. So there are a few things that we can do differently to add some interest when drawing clouds. There are a lot of different methods to achieve this, however, I narrowed it down to 3 that I think are very important today. Value is my very favorite. It is the way that light casts on an object. A simple way to say it is that it is the lights and darks of a color. Values should be lighter as they get away from the viewer, also meaning that values should be darker as they appear closer to the viewer. Contrast is another wonderful method. Contrast means to put differing values and colors, and sometimes shapes, next to each other. This helps all the elements of your art pop and stand out. Lastly, we've got overlapping. Overlapping is when you partially conceal one object behind the other without making it 100% disappear. Alright, you're ready to get started. So grab your pencil and we're going to start by drawing some contour lines, which is the lines that make up the shape of an object. Instead of doing that sponge cloud, you're going to kind of draw a horizontal line, but add a little bit of groove in it. Don't be afraid to get loose and shake that pencil around. I started making my clouds curve up very high, kind of like in a U shape. And then I used that fancy method we just learned to overlap some clouds. I put one on top of another, partially concealing the other. I continued to overlap clouds throughout the drawing plane, but as I moved up the drawing plane, I added smaller, more separate clouds. If yours does not exactly look like mine, that's a-okay. This is meant to be a fun and relaxing practice, so don't let anything stress you. I am interested in seeing your artwork if you do finish this tutorial. If you do come out with a little masterpiece or a piece of something, post it to Instagram and tag me so that I can see how well this went for you. Okay, so I've got my blue oil pastel in hand and I'm adding very dark values underneath all the clouds along those contour lines that we made up. I'm making sure that I add a good bit of pressure to my hand, but not so much that my pastel breaks. If yours breaks, no need to cry about it. I've been using oil pastels for about 2 months now and I've broken plenty. So as I move up on that drawing plane, I start lighting the amount of pressure I'm applying with my hand. Then I go in with my tortillon and I start using circular motions to kind of soften up the bottom edges of my clouds. If you don't have a tortillon, that's fine, you can use your finger. Here in a minute, you're going to see me start using my finger to kind of blur or buff out some of that graininess that you see. I really like streaky or wispy clouds, so while I'm depositing the clouds with white, I'm also pulling in some of the blue and working in darker values towards the bottom of each cloud. Now I'm going in and I'm just blurring out all the edges of the cloud to make sure that it's very soft transitions. Then that big open space, I'm going to add white over it so that I can blend it into more of a sky blue. Now that everything is pretty much blended out, I'm going to go in with my blue and kind of define some of the edges on the clouds. And in those same dark areas, I'm going to add some contrast by depositing more white. I'm going to do this very loosely. Bottom, I'm just adding some like tag along clouds just to make it feel a little bit more balanced. And then I'm gonna add some contrast into the clouds by adding some dark blues in kind of the same loose way that I did the white on the very bottom. To make the piece really pop, I added some purple along the edges of the clouds in a very loose way. This is just another way to add contrast, and if I felt like it was a little too harsh, I just buffed it out with my finger. So right before posting this video, I found out that I hit 200 subscribers, which is fantastic. So because of all your support, I decided that I was going to do a little giveaway. If you win this giveaway, you'll receive the clouds that we just demonstrated together, and you can enter your chance to win this by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and then commenting your favorite type of medium. You have until May 25 to enter. Thank you guys so much for all your support.